Oh, yeah, we're back. Continuity Summit 5. And starting off the event is the man. Everyone says the man, the myth, the legend. That's too generic. He is, there's a lot of people that use just a one-word name. You had Prince. You've got Madonna. If you want to bring it new school, you got Rihanna, however the hell you pronounce her name, Beyonce. But ladies and gentlemen, in the world of marketing, in the world of membership, there's only one person that could have the first name, and that is Stu. He is.
What's going on, buddy?
You better not step on my intro. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Stu McLaren. Now, Stu, I was saying this before you came on, that about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, I was interviewing you for one of my 8,000 things I've done. It was like a 10-minute interview, and you were telling me about a membership site you were working on with Michael Hyatt, and you were explaining how it looks. And I even said to you after, I'm like, you just gave me the idea. Like, I need to get back to membership sites. You just reinvigorate. That 10, 15-minute conversation was literally why Freedom is what it is now. Because it gave me the kick in the ass to say, that is what I need to do. That's what I need to go back to, building memberships, and it's what I love to do. And it's true. And Stu, because you remember this. You remember I was saying this to you. I'm like, this is like, I need to do this again. So that's why Freedom has now changed the lives of thousands of people, all because of a conversation with Stu. Stu is the guy who is the co-founder of Wishlist Member. I don't even know how many membership sites you guys have had. What, 30, 40,000?
When I sold my interest, it was over 60,000.
It was over 60. Stu sold his interest, started working with Michael Hyatt, built a membership site that a lot of the original version of Freedom was built upon. The same kind of concept, with thousands of members. And now Stu is kind of on his own, consulting, doing high-level membership site consulting. He's one of the few guys in the industry who I trust in terms of teaching membership sites, because most people teach it, but they've never actually built membership sites. They only have had their own membership site, teaching you how to do a membership site. Like, they're full of crap, in other words. Stu knows his stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, a warm virtual round of applause for Stu. Now, and I was saying before, Stu, that you are, as of this live event right now, you're actually in the middle of a huge launch, and we'll give you. We know this is no pitch, but at the end, you give yourself a little plug about Tribes, because you just released it. Although when people watch the recording, they might not be able to get there, but we'll give you.
Yeah, no, dude, listen. Here's the thing. I'm happy to share anything that you want to know about membership sites, because here's the bottom line. You know it and I know it because we've experienced it, but I want more people to experience what recurring revenue in their business will do for them. Because here's what I do know to be true. And this is kind of like my bigger mission. My bigger mission is to help entrepreneurs generate more profit with less stress. Because I know if that happens, people are going to be way more open to contributing to the people and causes that they're most passionate about. Look, I believe that we as entrepreneurs have the biggest opportunity to make the biggest impact. And so that's why I'm so passionate about this stuff, because recurring revenue changes the game for people. I mean, like, you're the continuity king, man. Like, you've been doing this since, like, I think
the 1800s.
Yeah, exactly. You're like the old man, who's been doing this for a long time. But, and so, you've experienced it, all these years, but for people that have never experienced it, it's a game changer. It just changes the stress levels of the business. It changes the stability of the business. It's way more predictable. It's why I love it, man.
Yeah. Well, Stu, it's funny because we are so similar. Like you said before, more profit with less stress. The only difference I say is mine's less profit, more stress. So mine's a little bit different model than you, but I'm just kidding. But no, you're right. It is when people really, really understand why recurring revenue is so important and how it changes the game, because it's really nice knowing that you have, whether it's 20, 50, 100, 1,000, or 2,000 people that are going to be billed next month for your continuous content. It changes, because you know how it is. Otherwise, you're just like, every day, the beginning of the month, you're starting back at zero if you don't have it. So,
well, let me ask you this, because you said you got reinvigorated on the concept. What was it? What was it about that reignited that passion for you?
when I was talking to you and looking inside Michael Hyatt's site, and seeing the kind of simplicity of it, and that, because I had tried a bunch of things. I was really kind of big for a while on the Facebook stuff, but it wasn't really. It didn't give me the flexibility. It didn't feel like it was something that could really make waves. And the idea of coming back and focusing on a bigger membership site and not having to charge $500 a month or $100 a month. I wanted something that was lower price that could just kind of shake things up. And I felt like that's what you guys were doing. And I don't know,
Mm.
it was also the look. Like when you took me inside the site and I saw like how clean it looked and how professional, as opposed to just having stuff in a Facebook group. It just,
Well,
there was something about that. Yeah.
and one thing that you said there, which I think is very important for everybody to know, as you mentioned, like this isn't just my experience, building 6 and 7 figure memberships, which I've got a lot of experience doing that with my own sites for sure. But like being behind the scenes with Wishlist, I mean, we interacted with literally tens of thousands of membership sites in all kinds of different markets. And I think one of the things that is important is that you begin seeing a lot of commonalities with people that are succeeding phenomenally well and those that aren't. And for me, they kind of like put people into 2 buckets. There was like the hobbyist, which was like somebody who started a membership site kind of on the side.
Right.
And it was treated like a side business, like it was like they'd kind of pay attention to it, but they wouldn't really, and it wouldn't really do much. Like it would kind of, they launch it and then sales would kind of drop and then it would kind of level off or completely die off. Like they could never grow it. It wasn't a consistent growth. And they were stuck. And then there was this other group, which I call the business owner. And the business owner, their growth curve looked a lot like a staircase. Like it would go up and then it would hold steady.
Right.
Up and then hold steady. And what was fascinating is when you looked at that group whose sites were growing every month, every year, you started to see a bunch of common traits in terms of the way they structured content, in terms of the way they marketed the site, in terms of the way they really built culture and retained their members. And one of the things that you said about what attracted you with Michael's was it was simple.
Yeah.
And I think even more in today's day and age, this is so critical for membership site owners to understand. Because if it's too complex or if there's too much information, you're going to overwhelm people. And across all these different markets, the number one reason that people cancel from a membership is not because the content isn't good, or it's not because it's not what they wanted. It's because they are so overwhelmed that they can't see themselves doing anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so as soon as that seed of doubt is planted, they're just like, you know what, like I can't keep up with it this month. It's just going to pile up next month and I'm just paying for something that I'm not going to use. So I'm going to quit. I'm going to cancel.
Right.
And so the key for you and I is to keep it simple, because if it's simple, the goal for us is consumption. If they consume it, then they're actually way more likely to do something with it. And so it's a win-win. It's a win for them because they actually get the value. It's a win for us because it means it doesn't require as much work. It's not, I'm not saying that you don't put, you're not intentional about crafting a world-class experience. But what I am saying is that it's not just about dumping a whole bunch of information and just hoping somebody's going to find something that they can get value from. You know what I mean?
Right. And it's funny because I struggle. So when I did my first iteration of Freedom, it was pretty much built on this is very similar to what you guys did, where every week there was a new piece of content. And it was very simple. It was very structured. There was behind the scenes. It was exactly what you guys are doing. And it worked fine. And it was successful. Like, it was good. And I think for most people starting a membership site, that's what I recommend. Like, I like it. I like the structure of like, okay, every Monday or every Tuesday, I'm going to release a new piece of content. And people know exactly what's coming. Obviously for Freedom, I wanted to really shake things up. And I was very well aware of, if I make it like this and we update it every day, it's going to overwhelm people. The only difference is, and I think the reason we're successful in pulling it off, and I think it's more of a, it's definitely not common, and I don't recommend most people go this route, is because the way we position it is we truly make it like a Netflix. See, if I said to everyone, look, in Freedom, we do a new training a day. We have like 1,000 hours. There's always stuff in there. If I say you have to go through everything, our churn rate would be 95% because they'd never do it. But if I say to them, it's like Netflix, like, just simply choose what you want to learn today. Like, everything you have is here. and you're not supposed to go through everything. It kind of changes it a little bit. So I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. And I tell everyone, you cannot overwhelm them. I'm just giving you the example that this is what I've done, and the reason I think it's working is because the way we position it. But for most people, I recommend what you're doing, Stu, and it's like just give them the good stuff. If anything, it's more curation, right?
Totally is. Yeah. Like it's about helping them get from where they are to where they want to be in the straightest path possible.
Yep.
And if they're, if you have, if it's not clear for them, then it's going to create confusion. And that's the number one thing for us as membership site owners, is that we just want to keep things clear, and we just want to keep people from feeling overwhelmed, because that's the number one reason they cancel.
Right. So in terms of that, there's really, we have very, very similar methods and methodologies in terms of what we teach with membership site training. I mean, it's pretty much the same because it works, right?
And we've both got beautiful wives and amazing kids.
We are very, very blessed. We are so effing blessed. It's really not funny like how blessed we are. I count my lucky stars every day. Although I am doing this today from our basement in a storage room because all my kids are home and I didn't realize it was spring break. But I digress. No, so it's cool because we get to do recurring revenue and this is fun stuff. So let's talk about the first thing there's really three I look at as kind of big buckets, right? There's the content, like what the hell are we going to give them? Then there's the traffic, how the heck do we get them to find out about us and join? And then there's, well, how do we keep them? It seems to make sense to start with content. I just want your best practices, Stu. Content, there's so many questions. How much do I do? How much is enough? How much is too much? And then I don't even want to get right now into pricing, but what are your overall philosophies on? Again, I know it depends on markets and everything. Let's just talk content, Stu.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one of the things that I discovered is there are really 4 reasons why people are going to join a membership. The first one is kind of obvious, especially if you've got, a following, or you've got, you've built up a bit of an audience. But number one is people want more from you. If you've ever gone to a conference or a seminar and you've heard a speaker that you just, and you were kind of pulled in by their message, you're like, man, this is awesome. But then there was nothing else afterwards. I remember the first time I ever saw Zig Ziglar, we're going old school today,
Yeah.
When I saw him
there might be some people on here that don't even know who Zig Ziglar is. Shame on you.
I know, that's crazy.
Shame on you. All right.
Exactly. Or another old school was Charlie Tremendous Jones. I don't know if you know him, but that's another. Oh gosh, I love the old school guys. So, but when I saw them for the first time, I was moved. I was just like, man, this is amazing. It was like an obsession, right? I just wanted to learn more from that person because they had moved me. And that's typically, that's a big reason why people will join, is they want more from you. The second reason is that people want less. And this is it's now, people are probably saying, dude, you're starting to confuse me. You just told me that people want more, and now you're telling me that people want less. Well, no, I said people want more from you, but what they want is they want less information, and they want more straight to the point. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They want you to curate. They want to be told what to do. And so, if you're in a market right now where there's a ton of free information out there, I want you to do a little happy dance right now. Give yourself a high five, because that is a very good opportunity, because it means that there's so much information that people have to sift and sort through all that stuff. So you said something very important. You said one of the things that we do is we curate information for people. That's exactly it. Mm-hmm. What we're doing is we're providing that clarity and direction, right? Yep. Okay, so the third reason that people will join is that people want convenience and speed. So what they want is they want to go from where they are to where they want to be as quickly as possible. But the more convenient we can make it for them, the better. So here's an example. Years ago, I belonged to a membership site that Tony Robbins had. And every month he would send a DVD. Now, for me,
I knew that club.
You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, the Masters or something. New Masters.
Yeah, New Money Masters.
Oh, and by the way, I remember I connected you with. You just met Tony, didn't you?
Yeah, we just met Tony. Yeah, he's an amazing dude, and we're talking shop on stuff, and Yeah, it's I'm very grateful for that connection. Thanks, buddy.
Oh, and by the way, speaking of Tony, they wanted just a little side note, just for people to know who you guys are rolling with right now. Tony Robbins is looking to maybe do some membership site stuff. The two people he reached out to, yours truly and Stu. Out of all the membership site people in the world, he reached out to us. So anyway, Stu, you said you were talking with Tony. There was the membership site that he had with the DVDs, New Money Masters. Take it away, my friend.
Yeah, so I belong to this membership, and he sends like a DVD every month. Now, for me, I don't know if anybody else is this way, but I don't watch a lot of like DVDs in that form. You know what I mean? Like for me, if I'm consuming information, normally it's in the car when I'm driving to soccer or dropping the kids off at school or something like that. And so if the only thing that was provided was the DVD, I would have canceled because I just wasn't consuming the DVDs. But the key thing here is that he made it convenient for all types of people that want to learn in all types of different ways. So he also included a CD of the exact same interview that was on the DVD. That is the thing that I listen to. So every time I was driving to soccer, which for me, I play soccer twice a week. And it used to be an hour-long drive there and an hour-long drive back. And that was my time to consume stuff. And so that's when I would listen to this stuff. And so it was, for me, it was super convenient. And then he also provided like a text version, like in a little booklet. So for people that just want to read the text version, the key is the more convenient your content is to consume, the more value people will get. So here's another example. HubSpot, the marketing platform HubSpot?
Right.
For all intents and purposes, it's a subscription and a membership too. One of the things that they noticed, which was fascinating, was they used to provide like 60 to 90-minute trainings inside of their platform showing people how to do different things. And instead of the 60 to 90-minute trainings, what they did was they made it more convenient by taking that same content and chunking it up into 10 to 15-minute lessons. Yep. So same content, just chunked up into 10 to 15-minute segments. And here's what happened. They increased their retention by over 50%, Ryan. Like 50%. They increased their retention by just taking the same content and chunking it down. Now, what's the lesson for all of us? Convenience. It was way more convenient, and it's way easier for somebody to get into the content when they're looking at 10 minutes versus 90. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I remember hearing that as well about HubSpot when they were talking about, because you and I probably listen to the same podcast and interviews, and like we really dive into this stuff. And it's amazing taking the same content and chunking it down, how the convenience just changes the game. Because seriously, at this day and age, who has time to sit and listen to like a full hour of stuff? Except this with the Continuity Summit. We got 7 hours. But besides that, yeah. Woo! All right.
So that's the third reason that people buy is they want convenience and speed. The fourth reason is people want direction. It's kind of like what I was saying before, more now than ever, people just want to be told what to do. There's so much information out there. They just want the clarity of knowing like, okay, here's where they are. Here's where they want to be, but what's the things that they got to focus on right now? So one of the things that I recommend people do is create what I call a success path. And this is basically like kind of breaks it down for people in terms of like, what are the next steps in order to get to the next stage? So, for example, like whatever you're teaching people, whether it's growing a business or, improving your dog's ability to, behavior, like improving your dog's behavior, or like
getting healthier,
raising well-mannered kids, or whatever the heck it is, there's different stages of growth that happen, whether, and a guitar would be another good example. Mm-hmm. So what you want to do is you want to think about that. Like, what are the different stages of growth? And then for each stage, what are the milestones, or what do people need to do in order to go from one stage to the next? And what that does is it takes it from like this massive amount of information that people got to try to wrestle with, and it shrinks it down to the few things that are most relevant to them right now. And that is what people want. People want that kind of clarity. And when you provide it, people are going to stay, not for months, but for years. And so at the end of the day, when I'm structuring content, I'm really taking these things into consideration. I want to make sure that I have this success path, which creates a vision for people in terms of where all of this is going and how it all fits and what's relevant to them right now. And in fact, one of the best things you can do as a membership site owner is when a new member joins, send them a little survey. Ask them a few questions. And at the end of it, based on their answers, you can say, you know what, based on your responses, it sounds like you're like at stage number 2. And for people that are in stage 2 and they're wanting to make the progress to stage 3, 4, and 5, here's what you need to focus on right now. Forget everything else. These are the most important things for you right now. And that is like a huge breath of fresh air. That provides the clarity. That provides the direction. That makes it way more convenient because now they don't have to go through everything. They're going to get the results faster. And so you're going to have a way better success rate. People are going to consume the content and everybody wins from that point forward.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we have what we do, just to show you. So we have our start here thing, right? And even when people join, and we have all of this, like, what do I do? The biggest questions we get. And we then give them links directly to the trainings that help them. Plus,
yeah, that's awesome.
Plus, we have our membership site, our Freedom Bootcamp, which was like a 3-day thing where it basically takes them through A to Z. I am 100% with you on that, Stu. Getting people on, the right, I like that success path. That sounds even better. I like success path. I like success path. So. We've got the 4 reasons they've joined. We've got a success path. So everyone needs some type of success path, right? So when people come on, here's where you are, here's where you need to go, here's where you start, as opposed to just throwing them a whole bunch of crap.
Yeah, and then it boils down to there's really like 2 types of content. There's like core content. Yeah. So that would kind of be almost like your boot camp that you were talking about there, where it's like foundational content that everybody who joins needs to know in order to get on the same playing field, right?
Yep.
Then the second type of content is what I would call your monthly content. So these are like your monthly deliverables. And depending on the type of site that you've got is going to determine what type of monthly deliverables you are creating. So if it's like a publisher style membership, where you're publishing regular content, almost like a magazine, then one of my recommendations is you have 4 deliverables a month, like 1 primary focus per week. But if it's more like what I call a UPS style membership, where you're delivering a package of content, and I'll give you an example in a minute, then you only really need 1, maybe even 2 deliverables per month. So here's a good example of a UPS site. We have a mutual friend, Paul Evans, and Paul, he has a site called teenlifeministries.com. And what his site does is he helps youth ministers with their Sunday service. So a lot of youth ministers, they have full-time jobs, so it's not like their sole focus. And so one of the things that he does is that he has this membership site, which basically provides them a PowerPoint each week that the youth minister can take to their Sunday service, and their sermon is all set and ready to go. So it saves them a ton of time, right? So like in terms of, he's not teaching them anything. It's almost like a service. Like he's just providing them these PowerPoints.
It's like done for you, Jesus. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. And but when he started this, he had all kinds of things. Like he had lessons that he was providing, and he was trying to teach all this information. He had a community and all this kind of stuff. And then when he did a survey and he asked his members like what they really wanted, the only reason they were really there was for this PowerPoint. So he's like, sweet. So he like stopped providing all the lessons. He cut out the community because nobody was engaging, and he just focused on delivering these lessons or these PowerPoints every week. And that's why people stay, and they continue to stay month after month after month. So this is a classic example of a UPS style site where he's providing a package of content, in this case, every week. And so it just depends on how the type of site that you've got and how much content you're providing. But for most of us, if we're providing like a publisher style membership, I recommend your core content and your monthly deliverables, which are essentially 4 pieces per month.
Yeah. It's funny, in one of our previous continuity summits, when we did an online version, I think it was number 4, we did a whole case study with Paul Evans. So I believe that's up in Freedom somewhere. So yeah, it's a great example of that. I like the UPS name. Stu, you're creative, my friend. You always got good stuff.
Yes, sir.
So we've got content. A question just came in from. We're doing questions that are coming through Facebook. Let me see. This is from Michael Merlino, and I'm interested to see. I know your take, but I want to hear you explain why and how it's been working. Let's say we're talking membership group, whether it's youth ministry zone or whatever the membership is, right? They're going to do more content, whether it's deliverable, whether it's the UPS or what was the other thing you called it? Or
Publisher?
the publisher. Forums, community. Now, there's the way that I used to do them, which was all through private forums, linked, connected right to your group, right to your site. You can only get it by logging into the actual site. It's hosted on the site. Or a lot of people are doing now, the site connected with a private Facebook group. Stu, lay it on me, my friend. Lay it on me, Stu! I'm very excited today. By the way, I'm doing this all day, so I think I'm gonna be dropping by like 2:00. But anyway, I've got the energy now.
Not you, buddy. I've never seen your energy drop.
It's
okay, so Facebook group or forum? This is like the ultimate question, and
right.
there's no one right answer, because here's what we're dealing with. A Facebook group is super convenient. It is super easy to set up, and people are already there on Facebook all day, every day. So engagement is going to be really high. So in the beginning, when you're just getting things going, like a Facebook group is absolutely the best and fastest way to go. Now, the downside to a Facebook group is that once you get over like 1,000 members, especially if they're engaged, things get lost. It's very hard to organize a Facebook group. And so people miss stuff, and it can get overwhelming, especially as their site grows and you get more and more people. So you really want to take that into consideration. You really want to be intentional about, how you structure the Facebook group. You want to have best practices. You kind of want to have rules of engagement, those types of things. And you want to try to keep things structured. So my recommendation is that you provide structure by perhaps having a focus on each day or something like that. But Facebook groups are amazing because that's where people are, and they're already used to engaging on Facebook. So it's a very, very easy way to get going. Just be careful of the overwhelm. Now, the private forum, the massive advantage to the private forum is you own it. It's your platform. So like Facebook can never pull the rug out from your feet. It's like you own it and it's your platform. Now, the challenge with your own forum is that you have to be more intentional about bringing people back into the forum on a regular basis. Now, it's not to say that you can't have high engagement on that. Like we have a high engagement. Now, when I was with Michael at Platform University, it's just about being intentional. And once you get the ball rolling with your own forum, and it turns it from something that people have to think about, and it turns it into an ongoing habit, that is when that forum really begins to take off. And no matter how big the site scales to, the forum can handle it because it's organized. Right. And that's the biggest advantage that a forum has over Facebook is organization. It eliminates that overwhelm and it allows people to get in. Now, one of the forum platforms that I highly recommend, which is really good because it incorporates some of the, conversation triggers that Facebook does, is a platform called P as in Peter, Power Board, IP Power Board. And it's a great platform. It's actually where we found it was Evernote uses it. And so we were just like, man, this is sweet. And where is it? IP
Power Board. Envision Power.
There it is. Envision Power. That's it. Yep. So we found it because we were on the Evernote forum, and we're just like, man, this is awesome. So we bought it and used it and integrated it into Platform University, and it was a game changer in terms of the engagement and the way it was laid out and everything. So
if Josh Groban's using it, it's good enough for me.
Come on, man. Listen, that enough said. Yeah. But yeah, it's a great platform for that. But the key thing is you got to be intentional to really drive people there. So in your communications, you want to highlight some of the conversations that are happening and give people links so they can jump right back into the forum and begin engaging in that. So you just got to be intentional about it. But the benefit is you own that platform, and that's a huge advantage over Facebook. So there's no right or wrong. Facebook is faster and easier to get going. People are already used to it. The engagement's going to be high right from the get-go. The forum, you own it. That's your platform, and no matter how big you grow, it continues to stay organized and manageable for people. The only downside is you just got to be intentional about getting people engaged in there and forming a habit.
So let's say someone is watching this and they're like, you know what, look, that's great. Michael Hyatt has a huge following. He has, 10,000 members or so, and Ryan has 1,000 members. What about me who's, I'm going to be happy with 200 or 300 members, and it'll be $30 a month. And because it's a very, very niche thing, it's for people who are in Canada and start a World Health it's very, very specific. They're going to max out at probably.
Were you going to say people in Canada living in igloos?
I was going to say people in Canada who pretend they're from the States. No, people. So I'm so
Okay.
I love you, Stu. So I
These
was going to
damn
say,
New Yorkers, I tell you.
hey, I'm a Connecticut guy now. I'm going to start talking like this. So imagine they're probably going to max out like 200-300 members, like $30 a month, and they're really, really happy. They're not going to get to 5,000-10,000 members. Do you recommend they even think about a forum, or they're good just with Facebook?
Listen, in the beginning, I would say start with Facebook. It's the fastest, it's the easiest, it's going to provide the least amount of setup. People already know how to engage on Facebook. All the viral features are all kind of baked in there. Everybody knows that when they see a little red circle with a number in it, that those are messages and they got to respond to that. They're trained to respond to that. So yeah, I would start with Facebook. But if people are looking at really growing and scaling this into a bigger business, then I would definitely look at IP Powerboard and owning the experience with your own forum.
Awesome. Okay. And we tried when we first launched the first version of Freedom. We did it with a forum, and we couldn't get enough traction on it. But it is something we're looking at down the road as we start hitting 5,000-10,000 members to maybe bring it into a forum. So I'm with you on that. There is no one right answer, so you guys have to choose what's best for you. Okay. So
yeah, and just what I think it's as long as you're up front with your community and just saying like, look, if you do transition to a forum down the road, just be upfront and involve them in the experience, involve them in that decision. It's
Right.
The more buy-in they have, the better.
Absolutely. All right, so we did a lot of coverage here on content. Let's spend a few minutes about the two other big things, which is getting people to your membership site. Like, let's talk big traffic tactics, and then we've got how to keep them. So let's do the next thing, which would seem like logical, is how are we getting people there? Like, you've been behind the scenes at some really, really big sites. Give me one or two Stu tips for traffic, marketing, having people know about it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, a couple things that I subscribe to in terms of a marketing philosophy, and I know you're this way too, Ryan, which is why you've been around for decades in the online space.
You really make me feel old.
which is why you've got gray hair, and we call you Grandpa Lee. Okay, so I'm just teasing. So here's the bottom line. Here's what I believe about marketing. Most people are like that 17-year-old man or teenager who's on his first date, and he is just so excited, and he's doing everything he can to get that first kiss, right? Like, he's just going for the sale way too fast. And that's how most people approach marketing these days. And so what I want to do is I want to encourage you to take a step back and have a little patience, because what I subscribe to, and I know you do too, is the longer the runway, the bigger the result. Say that again. The longer the runway, the bigger the result, which means like the more time you take to be intentional about attracting and developing relationships with people before you ask for the sale, the higher the conversion rates will be. So what that means is that you and I need to be intentional about creating what I call list builders. And we want to do these throughout the year where there's no intent other than to attract people into our world. So what are some examples of list builders? Like when I was with Michael Hyatt, one of the things that we did was we had a big promotion for a course of his called 5 Days to Your Best Year Ever, which was a goal setting course. And his oldest daughter, Megan, came up with the idea. She's like, wait, what if we reached out to 30 people and we asked them, what's the one thing that you do at the end of the year to prepare for the new year? And so we reached out to 30 people. I think we had, I don't know, like 20 something of them get back to us. And we made it easy for them to get back to us. We said, you know, just hit reply to this email. You can leave us a voicemail message, whatever it was. And we took all their responses and we curated it into a PDF. It was a simple PDF. And one page, like on each page was basically like, you know, the tactic or strategy. But we basically created a narrative in terms of like, what were the common traits that these different people were saying that they do. It was super fast and super easy to do. And then we started marketing that on Facebook. And it was something that we could drive people to. And anybody could do this. In fact, you could do it without even interviewing people or asking people. You could just go and you could curate best practices from content that other people have already put out there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you could say, you know, we're talking about traffic tactics. What if like somebody listening right now went and listened to a bunch of different podcasts and scoured through some blogs and watched some videos, and they took all these best practices that other people have shared and then curated that into a PDF and listed those different tactics and strategies. Give people the, you know, where the tactic and strategy came from, give them credit. But that becomes a very valuable resource because it saves people time. They don't have to go through all the podcasts and watch the videos and listen to the audios. You've done the heavy lifting for them. And so this one list builder, I remember with Michael, like, I mean, it took off virally. Like in the first year that we did it, we had over 40,000, if you can believe it.
Oh my God.
Leads come in from that one PDF.
What did you do to promote it? Did you do Facebook paid traffic?
Yep, and then we also reached out to the people that were in it. We told them, and so a bunch of them shared like via social, and then that just kind of took off. And what else did we do? And then we did a blog post about it, and I think that was about it.
Okay.
But the key thing is that it just totally took off because it was a great resource. People were sharing it left, right, and center. So that's an easy thing that we could, anybody can do. Like we just did one for ourselves. Like last year, and in fact, I'm about to do it again today. Last year, I did a live cast with 12 different membership site owners. And so it was like a, you know, I don't know, like a 5-hour event. And we're about to do another one here.
Which is basically what you're doing, which is essentially what I'm doing right now.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. And so what we did then was we took all of those interviews and we got them transcribed, and then we distilled the interview down to like a couple paragraphs of the essence of what that person said. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then we put that in a PDF. It's the same strategy. And so we just started using that to attract leads into our world. And so again, the point here is that you and I need to be intentional about consistently creating these little lead magnets or list builders to bring people into our world. So that's one thing. Second thing is that I am obsessive about telling stories of people who my audience can relate to and connect to, who have done what it is that they want to do. So for me, like I am obsessed about helping our audience get results, because if I can help them get results, I have better stories to tell. And the better stories I have to tell, the more people I'm going to attract. It's the circle of awesomeness. And so
it's not the circle of life, it's a circle of awesomeness.
Circle of awesomeness, baby. So, and here's what I want to encourage everybody to do. A lot of people, when I have shared this, they said, yeah, but Stu, like I don't have the case studies. Buddy, dude, you don't need personal case studies. You just need stories of people like the audience you want to attract who have done the very things that you want to do. For example, before I launched Tribe, I had a bunch of my own case studies. These were from private clients, but there were still some great stories of people who weren't my clients, but their story was very relevant to my audience. And so I did case studies with them, even though they weren't my students or clients, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But their story was very relevant and very powerful. And here's two things that you want to be mindful of when you're telling stories. Number one is you want to identify external challenges that your market is facing that these people in your stories have as well. And what do I mean by an external challenge? An external challenge would be like, what would somebody go to Google and type in to seek a solution for? That's an external challenge. Like for me, like it might be like how to get my toddler to sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
I may or may not be dealing with that right now, but that would be an external challenge. An internal challenge is, what is the conversation that's going on in their head that's keeping them up at night? So the example I always use, because it's very easy to understand, is when I sold my interest in Wishlist 2.5 years ago, it was the hardest decision I've ever had to make in my career, because the company was thriving. We were doing multiple 7 figures a year.
Mm-hmm.
I had awesome co-founders. Like I loved the guys I was in business with. I loved our team. I loved the product that we had. I loved the fact that we were serving tens of thousands of people. So like it was a tough decision. And here was the internal challenge that kept me up at night. I kept asking myself, like, what if Wishlist is a one-hit wonder? Like, what if I can't repeat my success? You know, will people want to do business with me now that I'm no longer associated with Wishlist? Will Ryan Lee talk to me anymore?
Yeah, it was no, but you finally begged. Like, all right.
And that's what kept me up at night, man.
I know.
But like, in all seriousness, you know, these are the thoughts that were running through my head. Like, am I putting my family at jeopardy by making this decision? So it was all based around like fear, anxiety, limiting beliefs, and all these things. These were the things that were eating away at me. Now, here's the little trick for you and I. When we can get to the heart of the internal challenge and we can give voice to those things, you connect people straight at the heart. So the external connects to people at the head level. The internal connects to people at the heart, because they finally feel like somebody understands them. They feel like you totally get their situation. And when that happens, you open up this deeper connection with your audience. And so when you offer a solution, there's a much deeper level of trust, and the conversion rates are therefore a lot higher. But most people, all they do is they just appeal to the external. And you see it all the time. It's very scientific. It's very formulaic. But the internal is more of an art form. And it's because you go straight to the heart. And when you do that, that's where you connect. You know, it's why for you, you do it naturally. Like, I remember when I was first interacting with you, one of the things that I absolutely loved and appreciate about you was the fact that you are so committed to your family. You would make decisions that meant you would make less money, but yet it was a higher priority for you because it was time with your family. That is like a perfect example where you were living that internal dialogue that so many of us wrestle with, where we've got these opportunities that are coming to us, and you know, where there's a chance to make more money, but the tension there is that, yeah, that is a chance to make more money, but it's going to take time away from the family.
Right.
And so that's why, you know, like we live and we are examples of the very challenges that our market faces. But when we can give voice to the internal and the external together, man, it's like a combination that is you know, very, very powerful. And so I do this with the stories that I tell. You know, I talk about, like, in the stories that I tell, I make sure that I'm touching on the external and internal challenges. You know, for example, like I was in Australia last month with our family, and while I was there, I recorded, we went and interviewed a number of tribers. And one of them is a gentleman by the name of Nigel Moore. And man, I was brought to tears during that interview, because I'm talking to him about like what it means to run a membership site. And he began telling me the story of his dad. And he's just like, he said, you know, 2 weeks ago, he said, I looked out my window, and he lives right by the ocean. And he said he could see the ferry coming across, And it was just like big waves, like the ferry was just smashing up against these waves. And he said, you know, like whenever that happens, he loves to go out and jump on the ferry with his dad. He said, because it's just like a roller coaster. It's just like a thrill ride. And so he calls his dad up. He's like, Dad, the surf is really big. He's like, let's just go jump on the ferry. So him and his dad, they go down and they get on the ferry. 20 minutes later, they're going back across, and they're just like right out front, like rain jackets on. They're just getting smashed by the waves, and waves are crashing over, and he's having a whale of a time. Then a week later, his dad was seeing the doctor, finds out he's got this massive tumor in his brain. And a few days after that, he's in emergency surgery, getting this tumor removed, and no idea whether he's going to survive or not. And Nigel's telling me this story, and he says, you know what? Like, he said, this is why I love the business that we have, because that was a moment that my dad and I shared together out on that ferry, having a great time. And if I didn't have the flexibility and freedom to be able to seize those moments, he's like, we would never have that connection time together. He's like, I have no idea what's going to happen with my dad. He's like, but what I do know is that both of us absolutely cherished that time together less than a week ago. And man, dude, like when he was telling me this, I was like, I'm choking up. But then you know, you can't help when you've got a heart and when you're human, you can't help but think of the people in your life that are meaningful and your life that you want to spend more time with. And that's what makes it meaning. That's where you have that connection, right? Like you go straight to the heart. And so this is why I love stories, man. I will tell stories till the end of time about real people that my market can connect with, that are dealing with the same types of issues. And when you can tell those stories and you do those consistently, it's easy to bring people into your world.
I'm with you 10,000%. I couldn't agree with you more. That's marketing, right? It's connecting, and it's not. That's why it gets me crazy, Stu, when I feel like sometimes you and I and just a handful of our friends are like the lone voices of sanity in this crazy world of like ninja hack stuff. And you know, and they're obsessed with, you know, what you know, should I have a countdown clock? And like they're focusing on that. They're focusing 95% of the time on that. And I'm like, just tell stories, engage. But
and connect with people. Like, dude, this is why, you know, like if people were just to take a step back and just analyze your marketing, like you're brilliant. Like with your emails are so personal. You tell, you know, personal stories all the time, and you bring people into your world and into your life. And that's where you connect with people. It's like you're connecting with them at the heart. And so whenever you do make an offer, there's so much trust there that people naturally say yes. But if you don't have that trust there, it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a battle. And that's not fun. That's not a business that anybody wants.
No, you don't need that stuff. You don't need all you don't need a 35-minute VSL, right?
Exactly.
Say, here's what we have. If you want it, cool. And if not, that's fine. Well, we're almost running out of time, because I knew, look, we could do this for 7 days. What I just want to cover one thing. Give us I know you have 1,000 of them right now, your number one best retention strategy tool. Like, what's the number one thing you guys do to focus on keeping people happy or keeping them?
Okay, well, as you said, there's never one thing that's going to make a world of difference. But I'll tell you a few things that, you know, when you start stacking these together, do make a difference. Number one, we've already talked about it, and it's about how your content is structured. So you want bite-sized content that's easy to consume. You know, I don't know if you've ever read the book, Ryan, called Rework by
Jason Fried.
Oh
my
Jason.
God, it's so good.
It's awesome, right? Now, I got to tell people the experience of that, because I go to bed with good intentions of reading a chapter every night. But the problem is like most books, they are, 10 chapters of 20 pages each, right? Well, if you remember, Rework is the complete opposite.
I read it in an hour.
Exactly. It's just like, because each chapter is like 2 to 3 pages.
I know. Love it.
I remember going to bed, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to read a chapter. And, I power through like 2 pages. I was like, I'm awesome. Like, I'm going to read another one. And then before I know it, I've read 10 chapters. I'm the man. Like, I am cruising through this book.
Yep.
And it's because it was structured in such a way that made it easy to consume. We want to do the same thing. Another thing when it comes to retention is that you want to create anticipation for future content. most people don't do this because they don't know what they're about to release. But it's just like the old TV shows. Remember the show 24, Ryan?
Oh yeah, Kiefer Sutherland.
Good old Jack Bauer, like every episode, the dude's like on his near deathbed, but he somehow saves the day and you're feeling good. And then right at the end of the episode, boom, something catastrophic happens and you're like, oh, and you got to watch the next episode to figure it out. So the key thing for all of us is to open loops and close loops by creating anticipation for future content. And then the last thing that I would say is you want to really cultivate create a culture and a community. People come for the content, they stay for the community. And so the key for you and I is that this is not about an ego fest. This is not about you, barking information on your audience. It's about you including people and building something together and working towards a bigger vision together. And so you want to use a lot of we language. You want to help facilitate connections amongst your community. You want to acknowledge people, and you want to thank people. Like it's about creating a culture and a community. And I'm telling you, man, like I see it, especially, you mentioned we're right in the midst of a launch right now, and I have never experienced this before, but our tribers who came through the first round, I mean, they are showing up and they are doing, quote, all the selling, and they're not, many of them aren't getting affiliate commissions or anything for it, but they're spreading the good word, if you will.
Yep.
And it's because there's this culture of support and encouragement and all that kind of stuff. And man, I just can't tell you how powerful that is from both a retention standpoint and from a future sales standpoint.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stu McLaren. Stu, now you first of all, you know how much I love you. I this was amazing. And you could see I was taking notes, and there's a lot of really, really good takeaways here. Now, obviously, right now we're on live, but there's going to be 99.9% of the people watching this it's going to be on a replay. So if we say specifically to a specific launch right now, they're not going to it's going to take them to a bad link. Where can they find out more to get on your list to learn more about the launch you have going on now and all the other stuff?
Well, for all things membership related, I just recommend people go to tribeworkshop.com.
Okay.
Whether we are in the midst of a launch or not, there's still an opportunity for you to be able to sign up there and to continue to get information where we'll send stories of other membership site owners and case studies and break down like what they're doing and all that kind of stuff. So that's where to go, is tribeworkshop.com. For all things Stu related, it's super easy. It's probably the shortest URL you've ever had anybody share on this show, which is stu.me.
I love it.
And that is also a great place to go, especially if you want some insight in terms of like the strategy for your online business, because there's an assessment tool there that kind of asks you a bunch of questions, and based on your responses gives you a strategy outline. So that's a great place to go as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you please, on the Facebook group, give Stu a virtual round of applause? And everyone with me, let's just yell out Stu, so you're going to feel this all the way up in Canada. Stu! And here's the thing. We can close out Continuity Summit 5 right now, and you guys got your money's worth. Like, that was I know the word masterclass is overused. That was a friggin' masterclass in membership sites. So it is going to be, it was great. And you always give me something new to think about when I hear you. So I appreciate you.
Well, sweet buddy.
Yeah.
I'm grateful to you, Ryan. You've been one of the early trendsetters and pioneers, and I'm grateful for the way that you continue to lead, man, because you are the real deal in every area. And, for people that don't know you personally, here's one of the greatest things about Ryan. He's exactly the same person as you see in public as he is in private. And so, he's just an awesome dude. And this is why, it's why I consider you a great friend, man. And I'm grateful to help any way that I can.
I appreciate it. Right back at you, buddy. Go check out Stu. Check him out, tribeworkshop.com, stu.me. I don't receive any commissions for that, but I rarely endorse anyone. I think last year I maybe promoted 2 other products outside of the Freedom Universe, and Stu's was one of them. So thank you, Stu. Good luck with the product launch. Keep changing lives, and enjoy every minute with Amy and your beautiful kids.
Likewise, buddy. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you. All right, man. Take care.
See ya. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to end the recording on this one. Hang tight.